I really believe that he could be one of those guys that gets his name called.
Is the head coach position in football becoming less desirable? And there's got to be something behind that.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Tonight is another night, another day into the offseason here of small school football. We got some big-time stories for you. No guests right now on this episode. We're working on a couple big-time ones. We're going to talk about them today. We're working on some big-time guests for you to try and highlight some of these small school guys going to earn opportunities at the next level. Division II, Division III football news tonight. Starting in the Division II realm, we had a big-time notable head coach in the Gulf South announcing his departure from his current school, going up to the Division I Power 4 level. We're going to break that down to start off the conversation tonight. And then we've got an offensive lineman from the PSAC and Slippery Rock that will represent in the East-West Shrine Bowl. So excited to talk about Joe Cooper, and you fast forward to that part of the conversation or any other. Timestamps in the description. Use the little red bar on YouTube to fast forward to any part of the video you want to listen to, or listen to it in its entirety. I would appreciate that. In Division III, we've got a quarterback going up to the Big Ten, he announced via the transfer portal. We'll break down that and what that could mean for the Nittany Lions up there in Penn State. A wide receiver going to the Senior Bowl, the only small school product to be in the Panini Senior Bowl here in 2026 down in Alabama. We've got a big quote-unquote new name as a prominent head coach takes over a big-time program here in D3 football out of the NCAC. And finally, some other coaching news and updates, and a team leaving a conference, the ODAC, to become independent. We'll talk about the Division III school that is predominantly for deaf and hard of hearing student athletes down there in Galladuet, and what moving to an independent could mean for them in the near future for the Bison. So this is D1R 222. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in. Let's start this thing off with some Division II football content. In Division II football, we had what I think was a pretty shocking move. I think that's been the response from some others, but we've heard from both sides as this has gone along, fellas. The most recent news out of the Gulf South Conference, longtime coach of the Statesmen at Delta State, Todd Cooley, resigns after a very strong tenure with this Delta State squad. He's leaving for Ole Miss. He's going up to the FBS level, Power 4 in the SEC ranks. Will join Golding and Company, and just to give you a little bit of background on this and what he accomplished in his time at Delta State, because he had a hell of a run when you put it very lightly here. 82-49 overall record, 4 playoff berths, 3 Gulf South Conference championships. He had over 100 all-conference selections in his tenure of 13 years as the head coach of the Statesmen. This is the guy that has a very strong track record down south in one of the bar for bar best conferences in D2 football, even though it doesn't have the depth as it usually had. And back in January of 2024, after going 21-4 over the previous 2 seasons, Cooley and the school, they agreed to a contract extension, the details of which were not made public. And now, here we are after the 25 season. Cooley's gone. He's gone up to Ole Miss, guys. What do you make of it?
Well, you know what? We talk about, is the head coach position in football becoming less desirable? And there's got to be something behind that, because I feel like nowadays with the NIL and the portal and money becoming so important in college football and in sports in general, I feel like the head coach position doesn't have as much control as they once did, whether that's recruiting, whether that's over building a culture, because kids are in and out all the time now. So, there's got to be something behind that. And I think he's going to Ole Miss to be assistant to the head coach, high school relations. I think it's important for those Power 4 schools to still have that connection to high school athletes. I know the portal is huge, but I still think recruiting high school athletes at a Power 4 level is important to get those, 4 or 5-star guys. But yeah, I mean, that kind of sums up the modern era of college football.
It definitely does. And a really cool note is that Pete Golding, the current head coach at Ole Miss, he played at Delta State. He was a D2 product himself, which kind of adds a cool wrinkle to the whole Trinidad Chambliss story with those two and their shared origin, if you will. He played at Delta from 02 to 05, started his career there in 06, and actually returned there on staff in 2010 and 11 for those seasons, so has some roots in that school and that area. And you talk about the head coach that position at the college level becoming less and less desirable, especially at the small schools where these head coaches are asked to do so much more than just the on-field product that we see on Saturdays. And I'll go back to our conversation very recently about Paul Simmons and Harding. What we've seen now is some of these upper echelon, Division II and small school teams starting to separate themselves. Obviously, Harding is going to do that by making Simmons their GM. Is that just another strain on current head coaches that would make that role less desirable? There's another reason why I think that this move might have been made, but Drew, what do you make of that, and how do these Division II schools like the Hardings and like these other schools that have the funding to do so start to separate themselves as we get into the modern era? I hate that, but the modern era of college football.
I think this definitely has a lot to do with the overall, just like, think about where Coach Cooley is in his career, right? You look at it just happened in Findlay. Coach Allen, I believe, right?
Yep.
He took the chance to leave a program that he kind of built and made it sustainable, and wanted to go take a chance at the Division I level at Toledo. And think about to where it's just like all the stuff that you have to deal with as a head coach, like Tim and yourself were saying. Sometimes. The SEC is a little different. Coach Cooley, that's like, as far as college football goes, last 25 years, it's the best conference in all of college football, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, to take your chance to be a part of something like that is great. And it looks like he has a really good established connection with Pete Golding. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's one of those things where I'm sure Coach Cooley was like, you know what, it might be probably a pay raise, right? Like, let's be serious.
Yeah, I think I think that's pretty safe. I would say he wouldn't be leaving that otherwise.
Yeah, pay raise, less stress, bigger environment. He's done a really good job at Delta State over the years. And sometimes in life, you take a risk in the sense of like, hey, what's comfortable? This is comfortable, but I want to be uncomfortable, and this is a little bit or uncomfortable, but it's also laid back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not necessarily having to, look kids in the eyes and like be the guy hyping everybody up in the pregame, right? Like that's just like, it's just a different role. So maybe he's just looking at that because it's, where he's at in his career.
Yeah, and those two have that shared history. Now, it is, I guess, worth noting they did not have any crossover at Delta State, Golding and Cooley, but like you said, they share that history and obviously share some connections because they've worked with a bunch of people that have been there over the course of their two tenures. And the other piece of this that I think is interesting, doing some more digging online and trying to go and find some other perspectives and people talking about this situation and this move, is that I've seen some speculation about the future of Delta State as an institution, not just a football program, but the institution of Delta State University down there, their uncertain future in terms of long-term funding. And while I couldn't find maybe a ton of credible sources, these are more like messages and people posting online on forums and other things, that could be part of the equation here, right? If someone on the inside, like your head football coach, if they get an inkling that a school like this is not operating in the green, I mean, pun not intended there with their logo and colors and branding right there. But there are some of these smaller schools that we've seen that have closed their doors in very recent history. That's not to say that Delta State is going to be the next one, but have heard some murmurings, certainly that this school could maybe not be on the right track money-wise. That, I imagine, could play into this decision too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that all three of us would agree with that. If you saw, let's just look at it from a business perspective, that you saw your business might not be like you're the CEO and the business is like you're being told, hey, there's a chance that this business goes under, and you get a potential opportunity at a bigger business with a smaller role. You're like, you know what? I've done really great things here. I'm going to go to help that business. You know what I mean? It's just like, think about it from like a life perspective. You know what I mean? So like, that's what I'm sure Coach Cooley was looking at it wise. It's tough going to be to not be on the sideline with all the responsibility that he has. But I'm sure at the end of the day, when he was thinking about like, what can I do to like better my career and be maybe a more sustainable role, it was where he's at now.
100%. You look at the standings from last year inside of the Gulf South Conference, and looks like the part of the screen there is getting cut off. But take my word for it. From the top down goes Valdosta, West Florida, Delta State, West Alabama. Those are the four schools inside of the conference. You got two of those teams in the playoffs. You got 6-5, which is a Valdosta State team that went on a run towards the end of the year, ends up winning the conference and getting that bid into the national playoff. West Florida, who was 10-2. Delta State, who finished 7-3. West Alabama, who actually kind of disappointed down the end of the stretch, but a quality football team. They're at 5-4. And this is a team, or a conference, that is loaded from top to bottom. So it'll be very interesting to see how that shakes out, how this move affects the Statesmen and also the rest of that conference that is, of course, looking to expand their geographic footprint here very, very soon to retain that automatic qualifier to the playoffs. But let's go over to the PSAC, guys. We got an offensive lineman, Joe Cooper. He's going to compete at the Shrine Bowl. He is the third Slippery Rock participant in the Shrine Bowl and one of the most prestigious postseason bowl NFL showcase type of events. Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, I think those are kind of hand in hand in terms of the opportunity and the platform that are given to these small school guys. Cooper earned 4 first-team All-American nods following this season. He was 4th in the Gene Upshaw Lineman of the Year voting, so he was a finalist for that award, a very prestigious one at that. He's 6'7", 320 pounds, and he said he had a lot of opportunities prior to this season with Power 4 schools and coaches that were looking to try and poach him off the Rocks roster. Obviously, he stuck around in Pennsylvania, and I don't know if you got a chance, guys, to check out any of that video, but this is a dude we're talking about.
Yeah, and he's got the NFL size, right? 6'7", 320 pounds. And we've seen guys from the lower level schools, offensive linemen, go to the Shrine Bowl and compete, or the Senior Bowl and compete, and they go viral and they maybe help their draft stock. I think what these bowls are great for is trying to mitigate that narrative that the competition wasn't great at the Division II or Division III
Sure.
level. They want to see them against the guys who played in the SEC, who played in the ACC, right? Those Power 4 conferences, even the Group of 5 conferences. They want to see them compete against those D1 guys. And if they can hold their own, if they can show toughness, if they can move some bodies, that's only going to help their draft stock. But we saw that with Quinn Myers on the Broncos, right?
Just saw him play the other day.
Just saw him play. Ali Marpet, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, went to
Good pull.
Hobart. Yep. So we've seen this happen before, and these are solid players. If you can have the size and the speed and the quickness and the toughness to move some people around in the trenches, doesn't matter where you go to college, they're going to find you.
100% agree with that. I'm trying to pull up, got a couple of clips from his one-on-one periods here at the Shrine Bowl. He was going up against some of the Texas A&M products that have now, of course, the video doesn't want to load, so I'll try and work on that as well. But I have some tape of his. I couldn't find anything from this year, but I have some tape from last year that I know we definitely should take a look at, and I'm going to give this one more time here to try and load, and it's not going to. Twitter just sometimes does not want to cooperate. But I'll put on his tape from last year, fellas. And like you said, Tim, you talk about a guy in the trenches. That size, of course, has to translate to the next level. And like you said, at the end of the day, especially at the line of scrimmage, they do not care, right, where you come from. How does that differ from a skill position, how they're evaluated in terms of someone on the putting their hand on the line of scrimmage, excuse me?
I don't necessarily think it matters as much as you might think, only because we saw literally Cooper Kupp score yesterday in the playoff game, and he wasn't an FBS Power 4 guy, right?
Sure.
Was he a Division II player? No, but you look at all these guys to where I think the one thing that the portal has made Division II athletes look better in the sense of if we take Joe Cooper for an example, if D1s were looking at him a year ago and he was like, you know what, I want to stay, I want to finish this out with my boys, right? Then they know that he can play at that level, right?
Yeah.
From that perspective. So then if you come back, you get better, you start dominating, you get your body right and everything like that. The FBS coaches knew he could play at that level. So now he's like, all right, so now I can go to this Shrine Bowl and I can expect to not necessarily expect to dominate, right? But he knows I can hang, right? I got nothing to worry about. Whereas back in the day, I feel when it's D3 product shows up at Shrine Bowl, you might be a little nervous, right? You're going to have that inner confidence of being a football player, but when the portal and you got these FBS coaches calling hey man, we want you to come up, right? Man, I can hang with these guys. there's nothing. There's that internal motivation, but there's also the external motivation as well, I think.
That's an interesting thought, and that, that kind of validates the decision, right? When you show the interest from those guys at the next level, and you look at some of the tape here from him, he's on the left side. Look at him getting up to the next level. Just go tackle the tackle and level someone in the defensive secondary. He is shown to be very mobile at that spot with the size and the tangibles, so to speak, that you want from this position. And what I love, Drew, as you notice, just a couple plays into this clip, we're showing the best of the best. This is not against Little Sisters of the Poor that we're playing over the course of whatever season. Not to say the PSAC is a bad conference, because it is very strong. But we got Ferris State in the first couple clips. That's a logo and a brand that more people at the next level are becoming familiar with. Absolutely, here it is again. Another one with against a program that people are familiar with and that you should have some of your best tape against, with some of the best defensive fronts that they'll see at the Division II level. But really impressed by a lot of things that he does, and I love that he showcases his ability to get to the next level in that first clip, but also has shown a variety of things. Anyone can sit there and do a down block, but the way that he is physical about that and finishes through plays, can play against the stunt, as you see here, and some other things. A lot to be excited about if you're Slippery Rock and Joe Cooper, and go and do this. Now, I will say, guys, I got another good clip for you that is not necessarily him making some big-time blocks. He's had the opportunity to get incorporated in the offense down there at Slippery Rock a few times, and I think I might have a clip of one of the touchdowns here that he had. This is against Clarion at November 1st of this year. Take a peek here. The jumbo package, quick dive up the middle, cross the goal line, and the announcer's like, basically, holy shit, is that Joe Cooper?
You see, like, he wasn't transferring if he knew he was getting the rock.
This,
you know what I mean? Like, he was getting the ball on the 1 yard line. That's the fridge right there.
Look at that.
No. Hey. Like the one kid from Northwood did that.
Yeah, Kevin.
That's Joe Cooper.
Yeah. No, Coben, I wanted to reiterate something too. Like, when you think about like these the guys going into like play as far as like tackle, and like they're looking for like athletic builds. Like, look at Jordan Maliata. You remember him?
Yeah.
He's the Eagles tackle, right? Like, he barely played football before they took a chance on him. And I don't even know what, like, his story is just like so fascinating, right? Like, if they think that you can move and you're 6'7", right? Like, no pun intended, but like you're 6'7" and you can move and you're big too. Like, they're like, all right, we get this guy with the right coaching. You know what I mean? Like, not saying Slippery Rock's not the right coaching, but NFL teams, right? We get this guy with the right coaching.
There's levels.
Shit, we might have found a gem. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
yeah. And sometimes, you take a Jake Witt from Northern Michigan, totally apples to oranges, different deal. But if you have those tangibles and you're willing to learn and to work, I think that's exactly what you're getting at. And that kind of gives me to my next question, guys, is what are these teams looking for from these guys at an event like the Shrine Bowl, East-West Shrine Bowl? And to me, yes, of course, you're looking for all those things, your ability to stand up against high-level competition and you show your ability to learn. To me, I think one of the biggest things would be show your ability to bounce back from a bad rep, from failure, from maybe not the best individual session. When you have those one-on-ones, we know, I think there was a great quote. I'm trying to think who said it, but basically, like, if a defensive lineman gets 1 sack a game, then he's going to be making millions and millions of dollars. If an offensive lineman lets up 1 sack, he'll be working at Amazon or UPS, right? So, if you're an offensive lineman, though, you have to have the ability to wash that, to flush that, so to speak, and then to get back up and do this thing all over again. That, to me, is probably one of the traits they're looking for from this guy. Can he rebound from those moments and his ability to learn? What else do you think should stand out from a small school guy at an event like this?
You're 100% right, Kobe. That's actually what I was going to say too, was that bounce back ability after a bad rep. What's the mental fortitude look like in a prospect? Mm-hmm. From a more tangible standpoint, I think they want to see his lateral quickness. How fast can he go from 0 to 5 yards? How can he get to the second level well? Can he finish blocks? Is his pad level going to be low? But I think definitely the footwork and the speed and the agility, acceleration is going to be super important. And then how he finishes blocks, I would say, is what they're going to be looking for on a tangible level.
Yeah, I mean, he is 6'7". It's not someone that you would imagine gets worked in at guard, but it's not like out of the realm of possibility. You never know.
Kai Becton.
Yeah, I was really about to say Kai Becton. Yeah.
Super Bowl. Yeah, and no, I'm going to go with the opposite of what Tim was saying. Not saying, but Tim's absolutely right. But then, let's look at it from like a off the field thing. They're wanting to see like what's your essentially ball knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, do you know like how to run a scheme, right? Like that's some of those like things where remember when, college offenses were so fast paced and so modernized to where it was like some of those guys necessarily struggled to get in the NFL game, right?
Yeah.
To where it was like so more like traditional West Coast. Like now it's almost like the NFL is kind of like changed in the sense to where like now if you're a more traditional style team, you're going to be like, oh, like I got to figure out how to like, RPO stuff like that. So I think they're also trying to see like some classroom stuff too, and they like are interviewing guys, right? Like you see the Lions post it every year, right? When they have a guy come in at the combine, they're like, hey, tell us about Sam Laporta. He's like, tell us about your high point, stuff like that, like your down block. Like, what are you thinking here on this rep? Like stuff. I think like that's a huge thing for every D2 and D3 guy that like when they get that opportunity to make sure that they are A+ on the classroom and the whiteboard is only going to make their trajectory even higher.
Here's a look at a little run block from Cooper here during one of the practices down there at the Shrine Bowl. And I think that's a good point in that, yes, you have some of these guys. I think I would categorize Slippery Rock, but I definitely know examples of that across small school and college football in general, where so much emphasis is put on the tempo of an offense and understanding the base core principles of that offense and the assignment of, in this case, that tackle, or as you see here, he's not at the tackle spot, actually is, I believe, in at the guard spot in that clip right there, where those guys might have a very similar assignment from snap to snap, and that is kind of all in the interest of making those plays blend together and make them all look the same to trick up and confuse the eyes of a defense. But to your point, like, what kind of ball knowledge does this guy have? Like, can you plug and play him into whatever system? What's his ability to pick up on things like that and totally understand from a schematic standpoint how this offense is run and what the intent of each and every play is? So we'll be very curious to see how he fares there. Obviously, he's already rolling, man. This is happening right now. So Shrine Bowl, definitely need to tune in to that one. I have to remind myself of the date right here on the 26th coming up. All 32 teams represented there. So big time performance, big time event.
Yeah, that's the Shrine Bowl's tonight.
Oh yeah, that's on me.
It's today.
Going on right now.
Yeah. Hey, no. In all seriousness, though, this is kind of like, I shouldn't say all seriousness. This is kind of a funny thing, but I love like when you get to those, like it used to be the Pro Bowl, and now the Pro Bowl obviously sucks. Like it's just like a joke. But like when teams were always wearing like their individual helmets, you know what I mean? Like I thought that was so cool, right? Like you see that clip right there. Guys next to a Wisconsin offensive lineman, but it's like, hey, I'm repping Slippery Rock, right? Like I think that's sweet. Like I hate that professional baseball for the All-Star game doesn't let like Miguel Cabrera wear the Tigers jersey. You know what I mean? They all have to wear the American League. It's like, no, show where you're from. I like when the teams do that.
In Division III football, we've got one representative heading to the Senior Bowl. That is the receiver out of John Carroll, Tyren Montgomery. Fellas, this is a guy that has such an interesting and unique story in terms of college football as a whole, let alone Division III football. A guy who originally walked on to LSU's basketball team, and then because of, I believe some academic reasons, went back home, had this itch to play football, ends up going to play flag football out in Las Vegas, and then tries to walk on the not flag, very contact football team at D1 Houston. COVID derails that, and a connection lands him at John Carroll. Guys, this is a career that we've had a lot of fun watching because he's been so spectacular. We had Nick Sempton-Felter, the quarterback, on the podcast during the season. Now get to talk about his top target in 2025. He's going to be competing in the Panini Senior Bowl in preparation for the NFL Draft. Give me the first impressions on one of the more unique prospects in this year's draft cycle.
I mean, you got to be a supreme athlete to just hop in and play football. Obviously, playing flag football and then making all these transitions. Like, I just see raw athleticism and just pure talent from this kid. I mean, it's really cool to see like this kind of story, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, like Jimmy said, coming in right away and not only like being a first-team All-American. You know, we talked about him quite a bit over the course of the year with Small School Saturday. Obviously, John Carroll leaving the Mount Union League, we'll call it, to go play against DePaul and Wabash over there, but set this John Carroll career receiving yards record and the single season reception record as well. Couple, NCAA player of the weeks, and he's just an absolute weapon on that offensive side of the ball. And you love to see it. You love seeing small school guys get opportunities. And I really believe that he could be one of those guys that gets his name called, maybe not necessarily, early in the draft, but I could see it happening. This is a guy that I certainly could see it happening.
Definitely agree. He's a digital marketing major there. John Carroll, we'll have to see if he's interested in joining the squad over here at D1R after that. Hopefully what is a long and illustrious playing career in the National Football League or otherwise. But the tangibles on this guy too, that is something that is really important, right? 6'1", 190 pounds, and that, I think, is putting it lightly. You see out there, this is a grown man playing football against, yes, granted, other grown men and some really good teams inside of that conference, but he definitely separated himself, especially this last year. And a guy with his frame, his ability to go up and grab footballs, his catch radius was phenomenal. Is a big reason why Septenfelter was so confident throwing him the rock. He has the chance to go and compete in the Senior Bowl, which is, he called it the Reese's Bowl, which is not, I don't blame him because that's kind of what I associated it with as well. But this Panini rebranded Senior Bowl down in Alabama has hosted the event for 76 years. He's got an even more important motivating factor for him, guys. That is the loss of his mother, who passed away this past year. And he said that she saw this vision for him far before he even saw it, and possibly even believed in him before he had that belief in himself. And so his why is to go out and exemplify these traits that his mom bequeathed to him, and it obviously is a very strong purpose and a very strong why. And if there were ever a doubt about the want and the desire to go and perform at this level and play at a high level and be in the National Football League or otherwise, this dude's got it all, man. He's got all the tangibles, all the things that you want to see in a prospect, and all the pieces of a very, very awesome story that people I think are going to be very quick to gravitate to and follow along with.
Talk about resilience, battling through adversity. I mean, doesn't get more adversity than that. I mean, it's a heck of a story, man.
Very much agree.
I'm excited to see, where life takes this guy, even if he doesn't get his name called or gets signed, whatever the case is. Unbelievable player and absolutely unbelievable story as well.
Hoping to get him on the show. We'll see if we can make that interview happen because, like I said, this is a phenomenal story with a great guy and a hell of a football player. So we're excited about that. We got another D3 product making waves. This one, though, still has some college eligibility left. Connor Berry, he's committing to the Big Ten and Penn State, going from Christopher Newport. The captains, they had themselves a phenomenal year. You go and beat Susquehanna in the first couple weeks of the season. You top at then number 4 team in the country in Salisbury, and you go on this incredible run in the regular season. You get bounced in your first playoff game against that very same Riverhawk squad going into the national tournament in 2025. But this is a guy that makes a very obviously vertical move. This is about as big a jump in college football as you can make, going from CNU all the way up to the Nittany Lions. What do we make of this move? I think there's a couple of things we certainly need to talk about, but let me get the initial impressions and outlook on Berry, a guy who had a ridiculous stat line in 2025 that I'll dive into in a little bit.
So this is a classic case of if you're a dog, they'll find you. We say it time and time again on this show. And obviously playing D3, D2 ball is great. It's an amazing experience for so many people. But if you have that opportunity, there's no reason why you shouldn't go for it, right? And that's another thing, high school recruits, maybe freshmen in college who maybe fell through the cracks and they're discouraged, just go ball out. If you're that good, go show everyone how good you are. And Connor Berry did exactly that.
Agreed.
Here's my deal. And I don't want to not say that I'm not excited for the guy because I'm pumped for stuff like this. Seeing a guy from Christopher Newport, Division III football, going to play at Penn State, I love that. But I'm also a little confused because, I feel like they would have built a statue for the kid if he would have come back and helped him win a conference championship. And you saw this at the Northwestern deal the Northwestern deal. Kobe, remind me of the guy's name, but he went to Northwestern, was a record-setting quarterback. Won
Jalen Gramstad.
There we go. And then goes to Nebraska and doesn't play a lick. And so, if you look up the makeup of this Penn State roster now, not to get too far into the Division I weeds, but Matt Campbell goes over there from Iowa State. Rocco Becht is on the Penn State quarterback room now, who played for Matt Campbell the last 3 seasons, and it is, I'm not going to say for sure, but surely seems like he's going to be the guy up there. And so was this your dream to play for Penn State? This is what you wanted to do your whole life? Like, I get that. I'm totally with that. But it's a little confusing to me, like being like maybe like the fifth guy on the depth chart to start and really having an uphill battle as your last year of college football. Me personally, as a guy that just loved playing Division III so much, like there's no way I ever would have done this, but I also didn't have the opportunity, so I can just shut the hell up about it.
I totally get and appreciate that angle. And yes, like from an outside perspective, you're going to be coming from where you're coming from. You look at this list here, you're going to be in the bottom of the board, right? You talk about some of those guys on the list, but I'll play devil's advocate here, Seth, where a part of me definitely does agree with you. I'll play devil's advocate for the sake of conversation, because we are just a bunch of bad take merchants on this show anyways. But you look at this list here of all these quarterbacks, all of the influx of quarterbacks. You also got to look at the departures. Penn State has said goodbye to Drew Aller, to Ethan Gruckenmeyer, to Jackson Smolik, to Beckham Kritza. These guys down this list are all departing from Penn State. Yes, with the coaching change. Yes, because of just transfer portal and external factors. So yes, you're absolutely correct in that no matter what, you're coming from a Division III institution, you're going to be the bottom guy on the totem pole. The best thing about it is, assuming I should have checked in to see if this was a mid-year type of deal, because this is a January 22nd breaking news type thing. So I kind of doubt at that point it's a mid-year type of arrangement that he'd most likely be going in the fall. You guys can certainly correct me if I'm wrong there. But the best thing about it is that all of these guys, whether they have previous experience with this coach or this coaching staff, they're all brand new when it comes to suiting up for the Nittany Lions. So if anything, he's going to get as fair a shake as everyone else. I think that's probably the most encouraging thing for him going through this whole process. And you talk about a guy, I mean, I have to put the highlights back up, fellas. You read some of these stats, because what he did in 2025 was nothing short of phenomenal. He had 2,800, almost 2,900 passing yards, but 35 passing touchdowns to just 6 interceptions through the air. Took very good care of the football. He added almost 300 yards with his legs and 11 rushing touchdowns. So very multidimensional in that aspect. Very curious to see if that translates, and that's something that could be a deciding factor for him in earning his way up the depth chart a few spots. Also had 1 tackle in 2025, for what it's worth, boys.
I don't want to be like the negative Nelly of the crew, because I definitely don't like to be. I just like, I don't know. I'm just like, go play, man. Like, just go play ball and keep playing. But like, I'm excited. I hope he gets his fair shot. Good. I hope he does. I'm nervous that he won't. That's the thing that I'm nervous about. Not that, like, I feel like anybody can play. Like, if you, D2, D3, and it doesn't matter. Like, I think you can play. I'm just worried that he won't get his fair shot. And that's what I'm excited to actually see, if he does or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
You got to wonder, too, like, you got to wonder if NIL might have, like, influenced him moving up, too.
Sure.
You got to think about it like that. He can go get paid. Like, go get paid, brother.
I'm all about that too, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
correct. Yeah, I didn't even, to be honest, didn't really think about that until you just said that.
I thought about
you're
that like
right.
last second too, because obviously, like, you want to go play 100%. Like, why would you ever go play somewhere if you don't think you have a chance?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But if you're gonna get a bag,
you talk about
get a bag,
$30K to go be a scout guy. Like, I think he'll take that. Like, I'd take that.
Dude, of course he would.
I don't know if that's the numbers. I don't know if that's the number.
Yeah, this is alleged, right? Alleged.
Speculative. Like a quarterback perspective, like quarterbacks, like your scout team quarterback probably has got to get paid quite a bit of money. And like, if let's say your starter's making $2 million, whatever the case is, like, I feel like you probably drop down to maybe in that, 6-figure tier at least. And man, if that's the case, like, I'm thinking 100K easy. But like, so who's to say that? But just speaking from the pure play perspective, that's my thoughts. But from you want to go make some money? Shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's safe to assume he is making a non-zero amount of dollars going to play at Penn State. And when you have uncertainty at the quarterback position, assuming he's got a good guy that he trusts representing him through that process, because that's how we know all the college football, that's how it works now, is to have an agent, that representation, someone who's going to go and vouch for you. There's got to be a non-zero amount attached to that. And you're talking about a guy that's coming from the Division III ranks, where I'm assuming, I'm going to go and speculate. He probably did pretty well in the classroom and got some academic scholarships at Christopher Newport. He's paying for school, right? We got to recoup that cost somewhere. And for someone coming from the Division III ranks, that's a big deal. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. I think that's an underappreciated part of this too, is like, you put a bag in front of someone and all of a sudden everything else starts to get really blurry. Rightfully so.
Hey,
might just pay off the school.
You got me on here for a reason, Kobe. I got to help you out sometimes.
Like, the kid probably had student loans. He's probably trying to figure out how he's going to pay for the student loans. Like, oh, I'll just go be the fifth
Yeah, dude.
at Penn State to pay off my student loans. I think I'll
We
take
might,
that.
yeah, we might be overthinking this a little bit. That's fair.
Gotta zoom out a little bit. You gotta
Yeah.
zoom out.
No, you're absolutely
Oh,
right.
you mean the
Let's
kid got paid $250K to go play football? Oh yeah, I'll do that.
let's go back and talk about the Blue Streaks a little bit more and their new head coach, Brian Polian. He's taken over at John Carroll, a name they are very familiar with down there. Currently the vice president for athletics and now also the head football coach. He has a plethora, I think you would say, of head coaching football experience. But again, that move is an interesting one because from the sounds of it, and literally from the text of it in this tweet here, Brian Polian will lead the football program while remaining vice president of athletics. An exciting new chapter of JCU football begins today. He is a graduate. You see there, graduated in '97. He's an alum of this program, has very deep ties and a lot of great, I guess, connections in the coaching world. A lot of really good, exciting things for this John Carroll squad. Coming off of losing a really good coach themselves too.
I have a few things to say on this. Not only like it's like how often do you see like AD to head coach? Like pretty much never, I think. But like then you just start, I was not familiar with Coach Polian's resume.
Okay.
But once you start to look through it and you're like, oh my gosh, this dude has, let me go through it. He was the head coach in Nevada. He was the special teams coordinator at LSU, special teams coordinator at Notre Dame, special teams coordinator at Stanford, special teams coordinator at Texas A&M, coached for Nick Saban at Michigan State.
Boom.
Assistant coach at Buffalo. So like without going too far into it, that pedigree is unbelievable. And then not only that, you mentioned John Carroll's NFL alumni footprint. I mean, there's guys that have coached in the NFL and all over the place. So this to me is a really aggressive move by John Carroll to say, hey, we just beat Mount Union, a team that we wanted to get away from. We're going to keep this thing going versus trying to rebuild. And on top of that, I think this team is going to be run more like an NFL team and being the CEO of the team versus like your offensive coordinator becomes head coach regardless. And I think seeing the budgets, the compliance, administer all that firsthand experience doing that, I think it's going to change how you run a football program. And I think we're going to see, like I said, some CEO type style head coaching, moves
like
going
that.
on here this fall.
I like that. And the quote here I really liked from him. This is directly from Polian. He said here, quote, returning to John Carroll 3 years ago felt like coming home. Stepping back onto the field now feels like a dream come true. Incredibly grateful for the opportunity and the trust placed for me to lead this prestigious program. And he goes on to talk about, being driven by the mission and the next steps in their journey and a lot of other really good things. Obviously, very well-spoken individual. But I think to your point, getting back into coaching in this, again, quote-unquote, modern era requires that understanding and that background in those different type of spaces. So his ability to retain that role, yes, could pull him in multiple directions, right? It is a taxing thing. But everyone's going to be under those same stressors. Now, he more than most because he has to deal with everyone else. How do those one-on-one eval meetings go between AD and head coach during the season?
I mean, he's got a boss.
Is Amir involved, or
he's got a boss? That's for sure. But yeah, he's I feel like they're just giving him the reins. Go say, let's go do this again here. Like that's
it's
how
like Jackie Moon in semi-pro. How he's like the head coach, the general manager, like. You know what I mean? He has all these roles, and like, have you guys seen semi-pro or no?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's like Jackie Moon.
So I do have another. It's just kind of a crucial note here too. It says here, and in conjunction with this news, Deon Magdanovic, who is an 06 graduate of John Carroll, hopefully pronounced that one correctly, he has been promoted to senior deputy athletic director. He's going to handle some additional administrative responsibilities in addition to remaining the men's soccer head coach. So he has spent his entire 20-year career at John Carroll. So he has a very rich history with this athletic department, is going to seemingly take off some of those responsibilities off the plate of Coach Polian. That is a really, really good factor to throw into the mix, and thought that was worth mentioning.
This is kind of how my high school ran things, I think, as far as, the high school soccer coach was the head football coach was the AD and handled everything. So I feel like that's what they're trying to do a little bit. So yeah, interesting deal. It feels like nobody's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, maybe per se, as far as the athletic director role is concerned. But I think this is a really aggressive move for John Carroll, and to have not only an alum in the building, because I think it also says this dude's not going to go anywhere because he was already the vice president for athletics. So
Stability.
I think he planned to be here for a while already, and so. When we're having a lot of success here, John Carroll, coach just left to go take a big time job. Like, I think we're going to probably, stick around here and try to build this thing the right way and continue to have this success that they've had so far.
One more fun fact for you guys. He authored a book titled Coaching Generation Z, Honor the Relationships. Might have to boot that up on the old Kindle, Jim.
Yeah, no, certainly. That sounds like something that's right up my alley. I got to build all the experience I can, dude.
I'd be very curious to hear his perspective on that, though. I mean, you talk about his wealth of experience at all those different stops.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, coaching Gen Z, not easy, but I might have to listen to the ebook potentially. Is he narrating it? That would be probably a good listen, I think. I think so.
Now we're getting into the important questions here. We got a couple other coaches to talk about. Let's go over to the MAC, not of the Maction variety. Delaware Valley, bringing in Bill Zwan Jr. He is taking the place of their former coach, Mike Isgro. He took the role at D2 Westchester. You see the logo on the graphic there? That's exactly where Coach Zwan's coming from. So we have a literal swap here, a trade of sorts from one coaching staff to another, swapping places, two ships passing in the night, so to speak. But this is definitely an interesting move for a program that has had so much success inside of this conference. And the last 2 years, they have not won the conference. That's gone to Eastern, kind of the upstart program this last year that made its way to the national playoff. The year before that, it was King's College. But you go back, fellas, this is a team that from 2017 to 2023, they ran the MAC, winning the conference championship in every single one of those years. They have more going back into the history of this program. You got to get back to that. And that is, of course, the first thing on the list of Coach Bill Zwan. And we had Louis Barrios, the former quarterback of this Del Val team, on the show, and he was a dude under center for, I believe, the Aggies down there. And they've got a very storied and rich tradition and history. Now it's not so far removed, though, that there are still guys in this roster that know exactly what winning is like down there at Del Val.
It's kind of this just the swap deal, first of all, is like, I don't know, it's kind of a strange thing to me because it's like, okay, you're going to go do my job and I'm going to go do your job and like, we'll see who does a better job at it. But, obviously they're bringing, he's bringing a really successful offense to Delaware Valley, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But like you said, like they've had a lot of success, and they got to get back to winning ways. And, sometimes just a change up is necessary. And, he's done a really good job at the D2 level. Consistently has been over 420 yards per game and 35 points as well. And bunch of school records. And so there's a track record there. And sometimes just that new perspective, obviously they're different coaches. Like they're not just the same coach coming in from one or the other, but having a fresh set of eyes on this thing could really, turn this thing to maybe not around, we'll say, but get off of the right exit ramp, I guess we'll call it.
I don't mind that analogy at all. You see Junior attached to his name, the original Bill Zwan, Westchester football coach, a 2025 inductee to the Chester County Hall of Fame. He is Westchester's all-time winningest coach, compiling 162 wins with 6 PSAC East titles. He was the coach of the 2018 PSAC champions, 10 NCAA tournament appearances, and 2 national semifinals runs. That is his father. That is his namesake there, the Junior attached. That's a pretty good act and a pretty tough act to follow, but obviously coaching is certainly in the Zwan family tree.
Yeah, sure appears that way.
Yeah, it's good to see. You like it. Didn't you like that? I think I like that.
Definitely does. We'll flip it over, fellas. Keep going in the Division III realm. New head coaches. We've got another one to talk about, another couple, but this one, head coach Wittenberg. They're bringing back BJ Code as the head coach. I say bringing him back. BJ was a Wittenberg, or is a Wittenberg alum. You see that, the class of 2008. He's coming over from Division II Ohio Dominican. Talk about a GMAC team making this move over. And Wittenberg, a team inside of that conference. Talked a lot about John Carroll today. This Wittenberg team has seen success in recent recent history, the last 3 years, you look back, this past year, they've taken a dip in very recent history. 4-6 in 2025, a respectable 6-4 in 24, and you go back to 2023, this is a 7-3 ball club. Now, as the conference has continued to add these pieces and get stronger over the years, this Wittenberg team, they need to keep up. That certainly seems to be the case with the addition of Coach Code here. The quote from Code that I really liked, he says here, "My career has been profoundly shaped by my time as a student athlete and a young coach here. I credit a great amount of my coaching identity and professional success to my time in the Wittenberg football program." So I can tell you firsthand, not every alumni hire is a home run, but obviously from an outside perspective, fellas, this seems like a really good fit for Wittenberg.
Looks like a slam dunk. I mean, I'm looking at the resume here, the notes. Like, guy's a leader. Pretty simply put.
I think
Guy's a leader of men.
I think anytime you bring an alum back to be the head football coach, I think it can do a couple different things. It can either be really good or really bad, I think. I've seen definitely both at times, but really good reasons why is, hey, man, there's a lot of pride with that institution. There's a lot of things that you remember, but also, if you were around a winning program, those ways might not win now, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you do the same things that worked in 08, they might not work here in 2026. And I'm not saying necessarily that's what Coach BJ has planned for this team, but I think it can be good. And I think a lot of teams would prefer to hire alums back on campus, but as well as it can also be kind of an interesting deal. Be like, hey, when 08, when we did this, right, or whenever, I think it can get a little interesting, but certainly like it's not always the case. But I'm excited to see what Coach Code does, down there coming back home.
Yeah, they need to take the next level, and they picked up some wins against some struggling teams. Ohio Wesleyan was one of those wins. Oberlin, Kenyon, these squads that you expect the Tigers to go out and perform against. And how do you perform respectfully, against the top tier of the conference? Right now, that, of course, DePaul, John Carroll at the top of that list. Wittenberg trying to make their case for that. A statement win over Washington and Lee was kind of the highlight, I think, of a 2025 season. But to get blanked 28-0 against the Tigers, DePaul, in week 4, and then to go at home and get beat 44-7 by John Carroll. Admittedly, those two teams were both very, very good quality, like go on the road and beat good playoff team type of caliber squads. But how do you perform respectively inside of the conference? And that's their biggest mark. You got to win those other games and perform well against the top tier of your conference. We'll see if they can do that defensively. They struggled a lot last year. We'll see if it sounds like he has a good defensive mind to see if he can get them back on the right track. But one more in terms of Division III football, we'll go into, again, another one of the D3 powers. Mount Union bringing back not a different head coach, but Kevin Burke. He's back in Alliance, Ohio. The two-time Galladuet winner, national champion quarterback, is back on staff for the Purple Raiders.
Galladuet. Okay. All right, I said it right. So obviously, like, having the opportunity.
Jimmy was so excited about it, he froze in anticipation.
Having this legacy as a player to come coach. Think about all the knowledge you can give. Did you guys hear me or no?
We can hear you. We're just getting a good. There we go. We're back. You're back.
Damn.
No, right. Kick it from the top. From the top.
All right, I'm back. All right. Having the opportunity to coach after having such a great legacy as a player, I mean, talk about a coach you can learn from, all the knowledge he's going to bestow upon all these young players. I mean, I'm sure the first thing Seth thought of was Caleb Baja coming back to River Falls one day. I mean, that had to have been the first thing that crossed his mind. No, but this is a great hire, man. This is a great hire. I mean, I love it. I love bringing back studs. That's what I like to do,
Fair.
I hope Caleb comes back to be the offensive coordinator at River Falls one day. That would make my heart happy. I don't know if he has any desire. He's gonna be the head. He's gonna be a starting quarterback for the Vikings next year, and we'll all be happy about that.
Hey, anything better? Anything instead of 9, right? I mean, 9's got to go.
But this is certainly an interesting move for Coach Dart, because here's the thing. I feel like it's getting a little loud over there in our alliance because
sure,
been a while since you won a national championship, right? Certainly is not the Mount Union of old. You lost to freaking John Carroll. I'm sure all the alums were like, oh, I'm going to start not giving you any more of my money anymore. You guys have to start paying for stuff yourself. And so I think this is a move to bring back some, not only, and we'll talk about him in a minute, Not only you bring back right the Galladuet Trophy winner, the national champion, you're getting that culture back in the room, right? Hey, this is how we did stuff when Coach Karras was in the room, right? This is how we did things. This is how we're going to do things again. And then you also bring over the other one. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, but Kappas. He was at Louisville High School in Ohio, right? Before that, he was the defensive coordinator. Austin P was actually the 2022 AFCA Assistant Coach of the Year in the FCS world. And then before that, from 2013 to 2020, he served as both the offensive coordinator and defense coordinator at different times. Was not the same at both times, but won multiple national championships as well during his time. So Coach Dart, he is bringing back national championship players and national championship coaches to come back to coach the Raiders because they got to do something, right? They got Mikey Maloney, who's an absolute dog, so they got to get the most out of him. And I feel like Coach Dart sees this as an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to take a step back a little bit from the offense and maybe take us another step back from the defense as well and coach the entire team. Because obviously Coach Dart's offensive guy. I could be wrong, but it appears that this is a way for Coach Dart to step back, get some championship caliber people back in the building, and start winning again for the Raiders.
Definitely a good way to get the alumni on your side is a good point. And the same way you talked about, you can't win the same way that you did in 1980, 1990, even 2010. You know what I mean? You can't win the same way. That's the same way these guys have to remember, and it's hard probably for them, these guys who from Mount Union might have gone through and gotten 4 rings maybe in their time with the Purple Raiders. It might be hard for them to go back and realize, hey, that's not the John Carroll of old. This is a very different ball club right now. And this is a good way to get the alumni back, but also you talk about it, getting 2 proven winners, keeping one in the building and adding another one, bringing them back into that building to help cultivate the next level of these guys and to help them get back to the championship. Because, having the championship right in Canton, that definitely was set up for the Purple Raiders, and them falling short of that goal, that's got to stink. Playing basically a pseudo home championship game would have been elite.
Right. Let's not act like it's been centuries since they've been in the game, right?
Sure.
They've been there.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for these guys at all.
We're talking not even 2 years, really, right? Like that's nothing.
I'll say this real quick. The other day I saw the list of national champions in the last 20 years or whatever it was. And you see a lot of the same 3 teams, and then you see Cortland and River Falls, and you're like, damn, not to bring up River Falls again, but still it's wild to see all this history with Whitewater and Mary Hardin Baylor and Mount Union and North Central. Yeah. It's not very often are teams not named those 4 schools winning this thing. And so it's getting loud a little bit in my opinion. Maybe it's not, maybe it's really not, but it feels like it's getting a little loud over there.
Yeah, that certainly is the impression from the outside. Of course, don't know what's going on inside of that building, but we'll go and talk about a team that maybe doesn't get as much pub on D1R. That is Galladuet, the Bison, making some news this offseason here. They're going to play as an independent in the upcoming season in 2026. This is not a concept that is foreign to Division III football, but certainly one that has been discouraged, I think, in very recent history for a multitude of reasons, and they're leaving the ODAC. That was the last year, was their only year inside of the conference. This is not the first time the Bison have been independent in their history, but on my short list of reasons why life as an independent is pretty freaking difficult, the tough one is that your path to the playoffs gets ridiculously hard. And what they call, the Pool C bids, aka your at-large, you don't get that AQ or a chance to earn an AQ into the national postseason. That hurts a lot for a team that has been there in not so recent, not so far distant, history. The scheduling factor. You get in the first couple of weeks, yes, everyone and their brother's looking for non-conference games to travel around. And when you're not, a North Central or Mary Hardin Baylor, it might be a little easier to schedule some non-con games. Once you get to week 4, what the hell do you do? Legitimate question, what do you do as an independent when all of these other teams basically are inside of conferences? And then the less, but I think still notable factor is that how do you cultivate some serious rivalries and have some really fun matchups if you're consistently changing conferences and then you're an independent where you don't have that structure of the year in and year out, similar opponents?
Yeah, you gotta get on the phone with Notre Dame.
That's what I was just going to say, Jimmy. I was just going to say that. You got to get on the phone with Notre Dame.
Correct.
They can do it. They certainly do it. And they're not going to struggle finding games. I'll tell you that much. I don't think they're going to struggle finding games because they might have to go play some really good teams that are struggling to find games themselves. But I don't think they'll struggle with it. But yeah, you're right. Like, you want to have these consistent matchups where you can look forward to playing teams every year, and they're certainly not going to have that either. So I'm curious to see how they're going to fill up. Like you said, after week 4 through the remainder of the season. Obviously, you're going to have to do a lot of work to get in the playoffs as well. But yeah, what a challenging road I'll call it ahead for them trying to do that.
Definitely agree. You look at the Galladuet schedule, reportedly includes games against ODAC members Everett and Roanoke, as well as 3 additional Division III football programs. Also includes club football programs. Again, I don't know if this has been confirmed so far, but that is also not going to help your playoff case. And again, this is not a team that, if we're being very honest, we're not going to be talking about this team most likely in playoff conversation in 2026. Now, could that change in very near future? Yes, but this is probably, and all realistically here, this is probably not a team we're talking about in the playoffs this year. What they're looking to avoid is the same fate of Keystone, which I know D3Football.com had talked about in their article. They found themselves without a conference in 2025. They took a season as a club program and now are trying to make that jump back to being an NCAA, like a varsity, like full functioning Division III football program. That is difficult. That is incredibly difficult because I think once you lose that and you lose that kind of name and recognition, one, the recruiting is really difficult, and two, just that scheduling factor and not playing the same level of competition. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why that would be really tough for an athletic department and program.
Kobe, at first, when you were saying like they might have club teams in their schedule, I thought you were joking. I thought it was like, I thought you were gonna like set us up and be like, oh, and then like this is like actually real. Like,
Correct.
I'm kind of actually like, blown
Correct.
away by that.
I'm not BSing.
They have club teams on their schedule, bro. That's wild.
Yeah.
I was not. Hey, you learn something new every day, and that was something that I was not expecting to learn today.
The ECFC is one that I think people who have followed Division III football for a while will know of. Of course, they closed after the 2024 season. The Galladuet Bisons, they were 19-15 over the previous 4 seasons in games against 4-year varsity programs when they were members of the ECFC. And their time in that conference, they had 2 trips to the NCAA playoffs, fellas. This is a team that has, again, had some success in not so distant history, but we've kind of fallen from that quite a bit. Galladuet really struggled this past year, and there were some very fun stories about the Bison. Of course, AT&T most notably put together, I got a picture here of the helmets that they were using over there at Galladuet would have like that AR type augmented reality feature. Galladuet, for those who are not familiar at all, is a school for deaf and hard of hearing student athletes. So this is a very important feature on the helmets where they can relay their play calls visually to their offensive and defensive players. I'm not sure, go into the intricate details of how this functions on game day, but Seth, I know you have some experience with a player that fits that criteria.
Yeah, we actually had DeMarco Young on our roster at Simpson. I coached him. Well, I didn't directly coach him, wasn't really running backs coach, but had a lot of interactions with DeMarco Young. I believe he is the only deaf Division III player that does not play for this particular program. And we are actually potentially going to get this equipment from AT&T for DeMarco, and I believe we got denied. I'm not exactly sure what the specifics were of it, whether it was an unfair advantage, whatever the case was. But yeah, as the video coordinator, like, which was what I was doing, I was really starting to think about, like, how are we going to make this work on game day? Because somebody's going to have to be up in the press box or on the sidelines, like, basically typing up the plays and saying, hey, DeMarco, this is the play that we're going to run on this particular whatever play. And so it's definitely a challenge. And we actually had Dawn, who's Dawn, who is his interpreter on the sidelines basically for the entire game. So we would tell her, hey,
wow,
we're running this play, right? And then she would
sign that in.
She would translate it to sign language, then to tell him on the field. And then he had a wristband we had to make an entirely separate wristband just for him. So it's a challenge. And so having that technology for those guys is awesome to have, and you love to see it. So wish we could have had that technology available for DeMarco, but definitely it's a challenge, but it's honestly kind of a fun challenge trying to figure out how to get him to play every single play. And especially being a huddle team, it's like, hey, our quarterback literally had to like point to the wristband and be like, hey, you're running this play. And so he's an unbelievable player. I think he rushed for over 1,000 yards this past season.
He's very talented too. Yeah.
Very, very talented. He's like 5'2"
You know,
And
that's the appeal of going to Galladuet, right? Because you're surrounded by people who are all going through that same exact life experience, and they are so prepared and trained to deal with that and help these guys excel at the college level. That's the appeal of going there, because everyone is quite literally wearing the same shoes, man. They're all going through that together. Now, the other deal with that, the helmet, is that all the different teams they played against had to agree to that. I think they had to put it in writing to kind of agree this is not an unfair advantage. And for Galladuet, yeah, maybe that makes sense. I could maybe see the hesitancy from schools over there, you know, playing Simpson, of like, wait a minute, they're getting what for this guy?
Yeah.
And even when you explain it, I think I could understand at least a little bit of the hesitancy to sign off on something like that.
well, I'm curious, like with the coach to player, right? Like the headsets inside the. I wonder if there's any legislation that maybe gets woven into that with that particular like device. Like, hey, we're doing the coach to player now, right? Like they got the headset inside the helmet. Is there a similar legislation that you can pass to say, hey, like, should you have a hard of hearing or deaf player?
Yeah.
Like this goes under the coach to player criteria, I guess you would call it. But yeah, it's that's, I mean, it's an interesting deal when you have to, you know, agree everybody to do this, but yeah, certainly a fun challenge.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you, fellas. We'll be back next week. That was really good stuff. We just killed like 40 minutes, dude. That was wild.
Yeah, no, it's easy money when we're talking good football. There's a lot of fun topics to get into in the off season that you know,
I've been
not
pleasantly
everybody
surprised.
yeah, not everybody can do it, but we do it.